His Excellency Kevin Colgan said that he was delighted to be back to Uganda after 20 years. The new ambassador of Hungary to Uganda, His Excellency Zord Mazaros, presented his credentials to President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and noted that Uganda and Hungary have had dynamic relations. The Australian envoy to Uganda, His Excellency Luke Joseph William, based in Nairobi, appreciated Uganda's contribution to the stabilization of peace in the region and Africa, and also reported that Australia is doing very well to control the COVID-19 pandemic. President Museveni welcomed the new envoy, who was also accompanied by the Australian Honorary Consul in Uganda, Mr. Patrick Bitature, and told the envoy that Uganda has a unique climate, and also informed him that the country acts firmly in the fight against COVID-19. The new ambassador of Indonesia to Uganda, His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Henry Saripadin, also based in Nairobi, conveyed warm congratulations from the President of Indonesia, His Excellency Joko Widodo, to the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni upon winning the recent elections. The envoy also pledged to promote the economic and social cooperation between the two countries, Indonesia and Uganda. He disclosed that Indonesia has already offered 15 scholarships to young Ugandan students to study in his country, and 18 of them are pursuing master's degrees. President Museveni welcomed the new Indonesian envoy to Uganda, disclosing that Uganda will host the non-aligned movement conference next year in 2022, which was very much cherished by the late Honorable Chirunda Chivejinja. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni welcomed all the new envoys to Uganda and promised to meet each of them once government hits its target of vaccinating 21 million Ugandans against COVID-19. Present at the ceremonies included the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Henry Okello Oriem, the Minister of State for Regional Cooperation, Honorable John Mulimba, and the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Vincent Waiswa Bajire. In other news, the body of the late Archbishop of the Orthodox Church Metropolitan, John Rwanga, has been brought back. The casket was received by the bishops in the Orthodox Church and government officials led by the Attorney General Chidiowa Chiwanuka. Archbishop John Rwanga succumbed to cancer-related complications last Sunday in Greece. And these are the details of his welcome.
At exactly 3:22 a.m. Saturday morning, an Egyptian aircraft MS-837 carrying the body of the fallen Archbishop of the Orthodox Church of Uganda, the Most Reverend Metropolitan John Rwanga, touched down at Entebbe International Airport. It was a somber mood as clergy from the Orthodox Church, government officials, plus selected family members and friends gathered to receive the body of their own in strict observance of COVID-19 protocols. Government was represented by the Attorney General Chidiowa Chiwanuka and the government chief whip, Thomas Tayebwa.
We are going to have prayers for the next 3 days, starting today, Sunday and Monday. And these services are going to be starting very early in the morning. Sufficient arrangements have been made to ensure that we observe the necessary SOPs. We encourage everyone who is going to the service, please socially distance, wash your hands, but please do come and give our Archbishop the respectful send-off. But let's still stay safe and maintain the COVID SOPs. Before getting onto the Uganda Funeral Services van, short prayers were cited for the fallen man of God. The clergy thanked government for according the fallen Archbishop a state burial.
Served God, but also served the people of Uganda. We thank His Excellency, we thank the government for giving him a state burial that is due to him. We are happy that he's saluted as a person who offered great service to this nation. May his soul rest in peace. May we imitate his example in serving.
we are grateful for all rearrangements undertaken by the government of Uganda, and we pray that myself as an envoy of our Pope give thanks to the Lord for the life and the good work of our late Metropolitan Jonah.
The burial will be on Monday. The services will, like I said, will start always at 6 in the morning, but the official celebration will start at about 10 in the morning. The chief mourner will be His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who will be represented at the function by the Vice President, Her Excellency Jessica Lupo.
The Most Reverend Metropolitan Jonah Lwanga was a Ugandan prelate who served as the Metropolitan of Kampala and all Uganda in Central Africa under the Eastern Orthodox Church of Alexandria from 1997 until his death in September 2021. Archbishop Lwanga has since been replaced by His Eminence Archbishop Makarios Tirirides of Nairobi after he was appointed the caretaker of the Holy Metropolis of Kampala by His Beatitude Pope and Patriarch Theodoros II of Alexandria. Makarios is also expected to preside over the burial of Lwanga. Bernard Yiga, UBC News, Entebbe.
Relatedly, the Orthodox Church and a cross-section of Ugandans this morning paid tribute to the late Archbishop of the Orthodox Church, Metropolitan Jonah Lwanga, who passed on at the beginning of this week in Greece. Now, this was at a funeral service led by Archbishop of Kenya, Makarios Tirirides.
There was a noticeable somber mood at St. Nicholas Orthodox Cathedral, Namungona, as mourners paid their respects to the late Archbishop Jonah Lwanga, who has been the head of the Orthodox Church in Uganda. Lwanga died at the beginning of this week while on an official visit to Greece. Archbishop Makarios Tirirides from Kenya, who is also serving as the caretaker of the Orthodox Church in Uganda, presided over the prayers.
For our teachers and for our parents, those in distress, those in persecution, those in need, refugees.
Bishop Makarios urged mourners to forgive one another, and he prayed to God to have mercy on the soul of the late Jonah Lwanga.
This is actually a time for each and everybody of us to think more deeply about our lives. We are coming, and then one day we go, and we disappear. Everybody of us today, but every day and forever, we have that invitation. The invitation is open. God is inviting us to go and meet Him.
The Bishop of Orthodox Church in Igulu and the Eastern Region, Right Reverend Sylvester Chisoro, applauded the late Lwanga's good works and love towards his religion and Uganda. Amongst other mourners present were the clergy from Tanzania, Rwanda, United States of America.
Because he was the first bishop of Tanzania, because he built a solid foundation of belief.
That beautiful smile, and grabbed me and he said, "Welcome, brother." And I knew from that very moment that I have family in Africa, and that when I came here, I was also coming home.
Nathan Lwanga, on behalf of the deceased Lwanga's family, reckoned that throughout his life, Lwanga was always into the footsteps of Jesus.
Penga Uganda tulabangako era tutuulirangako nti Ssaabasumba yazimbayo akayumba. Tetuulirangako nti yaguzeeyo akamotoka akake ng'omuntu. Tulowooza nti bangi mukkiriziganya naffe tuwadde mu mirimu gye egy'eklesiya takakasizzaako omutemwa gwa ssente nti wagula motoka ye yamutambuza mu bibye.
Members of Parliament who included the day's chief mourner on behalf of the Orthodox Church, also Remyaga Member of Parliament Theodore Sachikubo and Helen Nachimuli from Kalangala, also praised Late Lwanga for being an exemplary church leader.
The passing of our spiritual leader, the father of the church, and the voice of the voiceless, as has been said, of very profound quality.
It's a sad day for all of us. Chana kunyoko kubiwako omuntu wakono. Bulijjo ng'abadde taliwo tubadde tulinga abalowooza nti byakusaaga naye bwe yatuuse. Kitalo nnyo bannange.
I admire his honesty, his integrity, his straightforwardness. He did not play any game.
Ivan Juko, UBC News.
But may his soul rest in eternal peace. Now, several villages on the slopes of Mount Mohabbura in Chisoro district are counting losses after their gardens and property worth millions of shillings were destroyed by water runoffs. The affected areas are Ntarama village in Gashinje, village in Suko parish in Muramba sub-county.
A number of families located on the fourth hills of Mount Mohabbura in Chisoro district are now without food and shelter after water runoffs from Mount Mohabbura destroyed their gardens, livestock and houses. The chairperson of Chisoro district, Abel Bizmana, says Ntarama village was the most affected and many people are now stranded. He appeals to well-wishers to aid displaced persons. The chairperson Soko Parish, Emmanuel Habimana, says this is the 7th time runoff water from Mohabbura mountain damages villages, leaving many homeless.
Hati kiralebeka amizi gashaziremu kuraba kunuya. So bari kugera hano haruguru bagatatana hirya no hino.
They want government to relocate them to another place since they do not have land where they can relocate on their own. Muramaba sub-county speaker Jonathan Nzabonimpa says the water gushed from the mountain into people's homes and gardens, flattening what it flowed over.
Heavy rains accompanied by wind and hailstorms have ravaged Bushenyi district, destroying plantations, crops and killing animals. Residents are now in panic as famine looms in the area. They are calling for government's intervention and to provide, I'll say that again, they are calling for government intervention and to provide food and other non-food relief items to them.
Residents of Bumbaire and Nyabubari sub-counties in Bushenyi district are in panic following a hailstorm and wind that struck them last evening. According to the locals, heavy rain accompanied with wind and hailstorm began at around 7 p.m. but shortly after all their plantations and crops had been destroyed. According to the area leaders, over 18 villages have been grossly affected.
So our people, they need immediate and urgent attention in terms of food relief.
In Nyabubari sub-county, it spoiled all the plantations and even buildings at sub-county and also some parishes in Chugoma. And even before that, we had got the same calamity.
Chitabi Teachers College and Chigoma Parish were also swept away by winds. Residents in the affected areas have entirely been depending on banana, coffee and cassava for both income and food, but all these have been destroyed.
So we are requesting our government to immediately come to our rescue. Otherwise, we don't have even what to eat.
Immediately after the disaster struck the area, local leaders reached out to the Minister of Disaster and Preparedness for quick intervention. The State Minister for Disaster, Esther Anyakuni, swiftly went to assess the extent of the damage. Residents narrated to her their ordeal, requesting her ministry to come to their rescue by providing relief food to cater for their families.
You know, these people here are already farmers. They're doing something. It is not like they have not been doing anything, that they need free things. But we need to support people who are trying their best to do something. And so the government has to come in. That's why I'm here. I took up a speed up kind of action to be here today, to be able to share with the people their grievances and see how we can be able to support.
Minister Anyakuni also assured the locals that government will provide basic relief items including plastic sheetings, iron sheets, among others. She also tasked the Minister of Agriculture to immediately respond to the people's outcry by providing fast-growing crops to fix the looming famine.
My ministry will be able to give them some relief items and non-food relief items, but the problem is it's not sustainable. So we need the Ministry of Agriculture to come in action to be able to give them some short-term lived kind of seeds like beans. I'm just from an household where somebody's pigs were killed by the hailstorm. That means that has been his livelihood. So this kind of people should also be identified so that other government programs like Operation Wealth Creation can be able to support them.
Furthermore, the Department of Disaster Preparedness and Refugees is to aid hailstorm and landslide affected communities in Uganda District. The Minister for Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Engineer Hilary Yonek, and State Minister Esther Nyakuni pledged this during a visit to Uganda. The ministers were accompanied by the area woman member of parliament and other Uganda district leaders. These are the details.
Close to 770 homesteads in Kachinga, 480 in Kashozi and Kashozi Primary School in Ishongororo sub-county in Uganda district, along with gardens and banana plantations, were recently destroyed by a hailstorm, leaving a number of households without shelter.
The rain came in a stormy way. It was a stormy rain that removed the roof. Almost everything inside the house was soaked in water and mud. We did not save a lot. Food items, our clothes, the beddings and everything were all destroyed.
This has prompted the Minister for Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Engineer Hilary Yonek, and State Minister for Disaster Preparedness, Esther Nyakuni, to visit the devastated areas.
The tragedy that is befalling us because of the climatic change. This climatic change is ushering in many other hazards, some of which we didn't know before. So we are just trying to move around, assess the damage level, the damage. Just behind me here is one of the houses ravaged by the hailstorm.
So we thank God first of all for keeping us alive. This was a very bad strategy. Just as my senior colleague has said, we shall definitely support the church. It's just because there is a distance between here and Kampala, but we want to bring the mabati together with the food items for the people.
Engineer Hilary Yonek pledged government support towards the affected communities.
We have come here on behalf of our President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, whom we are working with, whom we are serving. We are in his government. When we go back on Monday, we are going to give him brief of these challenges, and we shall also try to send some small relief, whatever is in our stores, send relief to these people who have suffered.
Uganda District Woman Member of Parliament, Jane Bainomgisha, thanked government for the timely response. She asked Uganda communities to embrace planting of trees to avoid future disasters.
I wrote a letter to the Ministry of Disaster and Preparedness, and they promised to come. So I followed it up, and now today, the 18th of September, they are here. We are so grateful because they have even in fact promised to even give us iron sheets and even some food stuff. We are really grateful, and we know that this is Chisanja Akuna Mchezo. And we are all happy as people of Uganda, because when we see the two ministers here, we know that the president himself is here. Now this one shows that we work together. The only thing I want to request my people of Uganda, that we stop the issue of cutting trees. Let us continue planting trees, because maybe that is the challenge. That is the challenge that bringing this hailstorm.
The most affected areas include Karangara in Bisheshe, Nyamirima Parish, Bufunda Division, Uganda Municipality. Others are Chichuzi Parish, Uganda South, and Kachinga Ward in Ishongororo Town Council, among others.
In other news, government is also concerned about Uganda's water rising body levels, or government is concerned about the rising water levels in Uganda's water bodies. They say that this is leading to climate-related refugees, also referred to as internally displaced persons. This is also being evidenced by the periodic flooding that has displaced people living around lakes and rivers. These are the details.
Uganda is one of the countries experiencing the rise in water levels, leading to periodic flooding, displacing thousands of people living around lakes and rivers. The case in point is in Toroko district in western Uganda, where over 10,000 people were displaced between 2019 and 2020 after water levels in Lake Albert rose unexpectedly. But how big is the problem of rising water levels in Uganda?
Because of the high water inflows that we've witnessed right from the beginning of 2020. 80 districts in Uganda have been affected by floods, but we see most of the districts around Lake Victoria, Lake Choga, Lake Albert, including the districts of Ntoroko, Bulisa, the likes of Oyam, Adjumani, and others.
Up to now, the people who were displaced by floods in Ntoroko district have not been resettled and they are living in camps.
Mtoto yangu hapa maisha yetu kumubaya, tunateseka sana. Sipana jua tufanye nini. Tunakuwa kumwisho, tunafika kumwisho kabisa, nafikiri naisha yote ya kufanya. Tulikuwa na dongo yetu, tulikuwa na banyumba, mai inajaa, tunaacha.
Kwa kuona yangu menaona nyumba yangu imevunjika, mabati ninatupa shia fasi mai iko na zamisa. Ile ndio shida yangu ya kwanza. Tena kufika hapa tunajenga kabasi kidogo kidogo, vile ile kuna vunjika, sisi hatuna na pale tutajenga wapi?
Nabo munju ngijo no girora tundu bale matuhakamu. Akatundu bale kama babana abanyine munju, nindaranta na babana bagenda kusisikara bakule kubi.
We request government to give us a land where to stay, because in the case this management of secondary, they test me here, we have no way to go.
One can describe the conditions in which these people are living as undesirable.
These people are really suffering because they don't have where to sleep. They just sleep in these houses. We used to call them in the poly glass houses. Secondly, they don't have water. Where they are, there is no water. Secondly, sadly, they have no food. Because they are just temporary. They don't have lunch. They just buy from markets and different places. So I would request the government, mostly the PM office, Prime Minister's office, to try by all means see that they shift them from where they are and be compensated to a land where they can have a good living.
The challenge of rising water levels has not affected Ntoroko district alone. People living around the shores of Lake Victoria have not been spared either.
This water, when the water comes like this, there is that water that
collects in a pond, kind of a pond.
It's the water they use for bathing. We use it here for bathing, and you find most of children with scabies.
Wow. Then drinking?
Drinking, they go to the borehole, but the borehole is very far.
Although some of the disasters like flooding are linked to climate change caused by human-induced factors, Uganda's vulnerability is also associated with its geographical location.
In Africa, in the world, it is basically a landlocked country, but it is situated in the heart of Africa with over 26 lakes and the rivers, seasonal and permanent streams. It is also characteristic of wetlands, savannas, highlands like Mountain Elgon, Mountain Rwenzori, which are some of the highest in Africa and also in the whole world. And so given the geographical location and characteristics in terms of drainage and relief features, Uganda is extremely prone to hazards and disasters.
The increasing incidence of flooding, according to development partners, is accelerating the problem of climate refugees, not only in Uganda, but Africa as a whole.
In other words, we are beginning to see, because of drought in many parts of the region or water drying, we're beginning to see populations move as a result of that. Our sister agency, the United Nations Refugees Agency, has done quite some substantive work in that area of work, and since 2008, it estimates that about 21.8 million people, are sort of climate-induced refugees across but every year. Now, in the same vein, it has done some work around the East Africa corridor to see, and it's very clear that a number of refugees that are in the region are also moving as a result of climate change.
The scenario of the rising water levels in Uganda is connected to climate change that leads to heavy rains in some regions, thus flooding. But how does climate change impact the country's development agenda?
That we need to pay attention to that sector, because if climate change impacts on the coffee sector, which is currently, I think, giving us about 18% of export earnings, then you can see that you're going to lose. And it's estimated that 50 to 75% could be impacted by 2050 if we don't do the right investment to ensure that our coffee sector is protected, for example.
But we would advise people to always abide by the law and ensure that they don't do what is against the law, because even nature will catch up with them.
According to development partners, state and non-state actors should ensure that the causes of climate change are addressed.
All of us collectively need to take action, shared responsibility, so the church, religious bodies, the government, the private sector, and again, even for the private sector, let's not look at climate change as a corporate social responsibility. It is not. We have to look at how the business processes, from production all the way to market, that we make sure that we are doing, our business operation in a climate-friendly way. Are we using charcoal? Why don't you use solar instead? Things like that.
In areas that have been prohibited by law for settlement or other activities. As government, we don't say that we are going to compensate people, but we can only give them the advice and tell them to move away from those areas.
The increasing population is steadily contributing to climate change. For instance, between 1928 and 1930, Uganda's population was 2.8 million and has since grown to 45 million as per latest projections by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. And settlements are taking place in fragile ecosystems like wetlands, a major contributing factor to climate change.
All these are illegal structures. They are in the water, in our lake shores. And they were not sanctioned by NEMA. But people don't listen. I think Ugandans, this is the moment of truth.
For UBC News, I am Juliet Naiga and Diana Kuti.
Well, more and more climate change is becoming a bigger problem. That's why we cannot even solve it as just a country alone. This is something that we need to come together as a globe to address it. But moving on, the State Minister for Higher Education, Dr. John Chrysostom Oyingo, has expressed disappointment over increasing cases of teenage pregnancies and early marriages in Otuke district. The minister has cautioned parents against forcing their school-going children into early marriages. Oyingo was in Otuke district on an assessment exercise of learning institutions in the region. These are the details.
Otuke district is choking on teenage pregnancies and early marriages, a major challenge to the education sector. This was during an assessment tour by Ministry of Education officials led by the State Minister for Higher Education, Dr. John Oyingo. The minister was not happy with the increased cases of teenage pregnancies and early marriages and warned parents against involvement in encouraging the device. He, however, encouraged political leaders and police in northern Uganda to investigate premarital practice with a view of stopping it.
During July, January and July, only 7 months. That has to stop. These children is our world. These children is our oil. These children are the most precious resource God has given us. We need to protect them. We need to save, to protect, to care, to give them the maximum care possible.
The minister said the Ministry of Education is soon initiating a policy aimed at motivating teachers to stay in places where they are posted to check on the glowing vice of absconding from duty, common in rural schools.
Many of the teachers who are posted to teach in this part of the world stay for a very short time and run back to Kampala. This is unacceptable. This explains why many of our children have not been able to score good results at the end of their study. So it's important that we go back home, look at our policies, look at our laws. If it requires changing the law or changing the policy to enable the teachers stay wherever they are posted and they do a good job there, I'll support that policy. I'll even initiate it.
The minister visited various schools and promised government commitment to construct more schools in the district. The district woman member of parliament Otuke, Abeja Susan Okello, commended the Ministry of Education and Sport for the pledge to revamp Almet Community Primary School in Angaro, which is in poor condition. Parents of children involved in teenage pregnancies were asked to ensure their children resume their studies after winning their babies.
Those ones who are below primaries, if our mothers can take over these children, we shall encourage them to go back to school. There are very many people who have ever produced and gone back to school and they are successful in life. It doesn't mean that when you produce, you cannot go back to school. We shall get them, sensitize them, and tell them what is life.
Edwin Yachuara, UBC News.
In other news, Lira High Court has dismissed with cost the election petition filed by former State Minister for Lands Sam Ngola against the Electoral Commission and Jonathan Odur, the incumbent MP for Erute South constituency. Ngola, who was seeking court to annul the declaration of Jonathan Odur as the duly elected MP for Erute South, claimed there were voter bribery activities, distribution of salt and halls, and that the result used to declare the winner was not the result gazetted later by the Electoral Commission. These are the details.
Lira High Court has disposed of all the 3 election petitions which were filed after the January elections. In the last petition that was dismissed with cost, former State Minister for Housing Sam Ngola had sought for court intervention to annul the declaration of Jonathan Odur as the duly elected Member of Parliament for Erute South on claims that there was voter bribery, distribution of salt and hose. He also alleged that there were different results which were erroneously gazetted. On the 15th of January, the returning officer declared Jonathan Odur with 9,000 votes against 6,169 votes polled by Sam Ngola. but later gazetted 17,763 votes for Dur and 15,606 votes for Sam Mengola. Although the judge noted that the returning officer was excited and declared the winner without the final result, the result, which was gazetted, was final and did not contravene the law. In response to Counsel Isaac Okai and Geoffrey Komakech's prayers for dismissal of the petition filed against their client Jonathan Odur, Justice Vincent Emi Mugabo dismissed the petition with the cause to the second respondent.
I hereby confirm that Honorable Wadulo Jonathan, the second respondent, is the validly elected Member of Parliament for Erute South.
Speaking outside court, Jonathan Odur, who described the petition as baseless, cautioned voters against fronting politicians' wishes.
There are people who think that because they have connections, they can defeat the will of the people who vote. And I'm very grateful that the judge has upheld the esteem of our judiciary.
Meanwhile, Sam Ingola says he will have a meeting with his lawyers before taking the next step.
I want to thank only the people of Erute South, and then go and meet with the team, and then from there we'll know the way forward.
So the lawyers will work out that cost, and the people of Erute South are waiting for it. And we know that when you come to court, you should expect it. I know he has been prepared, he will be able to meet that cost.
However, the judge did not award any cost to the Electoral Commission, saying their participation was minimal. Eddie Olwa for UBC News in Lira City.
Safe Space Network, a non-government organization, has started an initiative aimed at helping the girl children against falling in the traps of early pregnancy. The youth are offered knowledge and practical skills to avoid early pregnancies and HIV/AIDS. This was according to a recent survey indicating that early pregnancies are becoming common, particularly due to school closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Safe Space Network plans to empower teenage girls in Kampala with knowledge and skills of how to avoid early pregnancy.
Mobilize and engage your communities. You engage youth, fellow youth, to make sure they do not contract HIV so that they can be able to give us the solutions to the problems that our society, that our Uganda and the entire world is facing today.
The Executive Director, Safe Space Network, Nelson Kwene, advised stakeholders to give a hand and direction to vulnerable children.
To continue empowering young people to be change agents in their communities. So the change you expect in your community, our hopes are in you, are in her and her and her. That it is you people that are going to create that change. A generation that is going to be HIV free starts with you today, after this training. We hope that a person in your neighborhood, your friend, a classmate, whose school has been closed and is back home, when you go back, you will share with them the knowledge of how they can prevent themselves from getting HIV during this COVID-19 pandemic.
Kampala is one of the areas with a high concentration of vulnerable youth, mainly girls who are often at risk of falling prey to dishonest men that impregnate them often.
When we also believe that when a girl child is safe, then our community is presumably safe as well.
The program is expected to be extended to other regions of the country. We'll now take a short commercial break and be back with business news. Please stay tuned.
Today in history.
On 18th September 1961, the United Nations Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld was killed in a plane crash at Ndola Airport. General Dag Hammarskjöld was on his way to meet with President Moise Tshombe of Katanga province in Congo. His death was a terrible blow to the hopes for a truce in Katanga.
I smile when I think of you, Uganda, my home. My home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda, my home, oh my Uganda.
I know, with you I'll always stay forever. I know, because I feel that we belong together. My home, under the sun so bright, under the moon at night, on my heart. Mommy, oh my Uganda.
Hey, mama. At MTN, we look forward to starting another exciting journey together to grow our home, Uganda.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy a 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Dial *175 hash and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
5 for 5, 5 times the winning, yeah. 5 times the happiness, yeah. 5 times the luckiness, yeah. 5 for 5, oh yeah. It's 5 for 5. 5 for 5, 5 times the money, yeah. 5 times the shopping, yeah. 5 times the prizes, yeah. 5 for 5, oh yeah. It's 5 for 5. 5 for 5.
Win! 100,000 Uganda shillings weekly in the 5 for 5 jackpot. Simply download the Center mobile app. Click Center on the go to open your account online. Transact 5 times or more using Center mobile, Center Visa, and Center agent to stand a chance to win. The more you transact, the higher your chances of winning. So, participate in the 5 for 5 jackpot and win millions in daily and weekly prizes. The 5 for 5 jackpot is brought to you by Centenary Bank, our bank. Centenary Bank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund.
Getting GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. Finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly until James discovered something big. Now he can finally enjoy the benefits of homegrown advantage with a decoder and 1 month of GoTV Valley. For just 25,000 shillings, enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cap competitions. GoTV Uganda, love it.
My home, I smile when I think of you, Uganda. My home, my home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda. My home, oh my Uganda.
I know, with you I'll always stay forever. I know, because I feel that we belong together. My home, under the sun so bright, under the moon at night, on my heart, mommy, oh my Uganda.
Hey, mama. At MTN, we look forward to starting another exciting journey together to grow our home, Uganda. Brought to you by
Transact 5 times or more using Center Mobile, Center Visa, and Center Agent to stand a chance to win. The more you transact, the higher your chances of winning. So, participate in the 5 for 5 jackpot and win millions in daily and weekly prizes. The 5 for 5 jackpot is brought to you by Centenary Bank, our bank.
Welcome back. You're still watching the UBC News Tonight, broadcasting live from Nile Avenue, also on YouTube under the name tag UBC Television Uganda. We'll now take you to the world of business. Now, as the world tightens the belt on the fight against COVID-19, lockdowns have proven to be one of the most effective measures of controlling the coronavirus spread. It, however, comes with its share of demerits, especially on the economy, as many organizations are forced to lay off some of their workers in order to reduce on operational costs. Let's take a look at this report.
The world was almost brought to its knees last year when it was hit by COVID-19 pandemic. This saw economies shut down as lockdowns became the order of the day. The managing director, Orthodox Uganda, says they took advantage of the lockdown to equip staff members with better skills of managing a competitive confectionery market in the bakery and confectionery industry.
So what we very quickly thought was to use this time, because nobody knew when this pandemic was going to ease in. We took 80% of our staff for training to prepare them so that when things get better, then we can be able to get a more skilled, more knowledgeable and more capacitated labor force. So we used a lot of the, instead of laying off workers, we took advantage of that learning time to train.
Yes, the government to put emphasis on hands-on trainings to equip the youth for the future. He hastens to add that the world has changed and organizations should devise measures to keep the operations going without reducing on the workforce.
You don't know what the standard says. Ask from a quality controller. Am I doing the right thing? What are the requirements for the standards? Because at the end of the day, when UNBS comes for surveillance auditing and finds you are not meeting the requirements, then they will close the place.
How can we be able to produce quality? How to deal with the demand in the market? All those we did share with our team that was training us.
Mr. Matano says, as Hotlof, they have learned a lot from the pandemic and are now well prepared for the future emergencies. He also thanks the government through the Ministry of Health for the efforts put in place to reduce the spread of COVID-19.
New thing for everybody. It is not an easy thing to train, but we are doing our best to make sure that we are wearing gloves, we have masks on, we wash our hands, we sanitize. All our convenience places have been heavily sanitized to ensure that we don't contaminate people, whether when they come in or when they're going out.
On her side, the project coordinator PSFC, Madam Namakura Mariam, says the training of staff was the best way to use the lockdown period to add them modern skills to boost the production standards.
So actually when COVID came, we took it as an opportunity to equip our staff with the skills.
Namakula adds that although the period has been challenging to the organization financially, they couldn't send away the staff since they were also affected by the pandemic.
We value our workers so much, and well, it was not their fault for the pandemic to come around. So we had to reconsider ourselves. But then, before COVID, we had done a training needs assessment. So all that COVID brought up just found us in the process of training our staff. So actually when COVID came, we took it as an opportunity to equip our staff with the skills, because there's ample time.
Hotlof now looks forward to extend its operations to other parts of the country to bring service nearer to the communities. This was at a training held at Hotlof Confectionery Offices on Jinja Road. The training was supported by Skills Development Facility and a private sector foundation. Uganda. Edwin Yachwara, UBC News.
Was brought to you by
The 5 for 5 jackpot is brought to you by Centenary Bank, our bank.
My home, I smile when I think of you, Uganda. My home.
tears when I look at you, Uganda, my home, oh my Uganda.
I know with you I'll always stay forever. I know, because I feel that we belong together. My home, under the sun so bright, under the moon at night, on my heart, mommy, oh my Uganda.
Hey, mama.
At MTN, we look forward to starting another exciting journey together to grow our home, Uganda.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
Welcome back. We now take you to international news. The Security Council on Friday adopted a resolution extending the mandate of the UN Assistance Mission in Afghanistan for 6 months until March 17, 2022. The resolution 2596, which won the unanimous support of the 15-member council, stressed the critical importance of a continued presence of the UNAMA and other UN agencies, funds and programs across Afghanistan. It also called on the Afghan and international parties to coordinate with the UNAMA in the implementation of its mandate to ensure the safety, security and freedom of movement of UN and associated personnel throughout the country. Given the severity of COVID-19 pandemic in Afghanistan, China will provide emergency humanitarian assistance and donate vaccines to help Afghanistan contain the virus. Dai also said that there is a real risk of international terrorism gathering in Afghanistan, which calls for vigilance. Then relatedly, President Xi Jinping called for efforts to promote steady transition of Afghan situation as soon as possible, engage Afghanistan in dialogues and help the Afghan people tide over difficulties. Xi made these remarks on September 17th in Beijing while attending a joint summit of the leaders of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the Collective Security Treaty Organization member states on the Afghanistan issue via video link. And now in sports, Uganda Dance Sport Federation is one of the newest sport bodies in Uganda, being a certified Olympic sport and gearing for the next Olympiad in France come 2024. It has already embarked on a talent search in order not to regret delays in preparations. We have some details for you.
Katikamo Youth Center in Wobulenzi has hosted the Greater Luwero District Breaking for Gold Championship, which is organized by Uganda Dance Sport Federation.
These regional qualifiers, we are going to have them in 9 regions of Uganda. Today we have started with Luwero. Luwero has 5 districts that are making Luwero Region Association. Here we have Luwero, Nakaseke, Nakasongola, Chankwanze and Chivoga. So all the breakers are going to gather here today, 20 from each district, and we make sure that we screen those who will be able to represent us in the World Championship that will happen in December in France on 4th.
Breaking dance category is already admitted for the Olympics in 2024 and is the reason Uganda Dance Sport Federation has started early to enable its athletes accumulate points.
Dance sport has an international championship, which is World Breaking for Gold. We are all aware that breaking was added to Olympics come 2024 Paris. But qualifying, there is a structure that we have to follow to qualify, and these are one of the championships we are trying to arrange as a federation to make sure that our athletes who are breakers, the B-boys and B-girls all over the country, they can be able to attain points that can help them to qualify for 2024 championship.
Uganda Dance Sport Federation General Secretary Barnabas Sebuyungo confirms how they will select players that will start at the Africa Breaking for Gold Championship in South Africa before the World Championship in France in December.
We are going to move 9 regions, and we shall reach to West Nile. We are going to move over the countries. We have associations in every region of Uganda, and from here we shall go to Wakiso. Wakiso, all the municipalities that are in Wakiso district. Wakiso, it's a region itself. And crews or dance groups there who are dancing breaking will be able to participate in these qualifiers. We are taking two B-boys and 2 B-girls from every region. Then from there we shall choose the best from every region, and we form a national championship where we should get people who are going to represent us at the Africa continent and the World Championship.
The federation is blessed with several clubs across the country, including Entebbe, Bugisu, Masaka, Busoga and northern Uganda. It's also not only about breakdance, but also has other genres including Latin, ballroom, hip-hop, contemporary and culture. And so, why not make a date with them? John Barnes, Sentamu, reporting.
Just when you think the world is getting diverse, you get surprised more and more. Now dancing is a sport. Uganda Swimming Federation President Moses Mwasei has lauded his athletes for keeping shape and exhibiting quality displays at the National Time Trials hosted at Green Hill Academy. Now the trials coincided with the World Aquatics Day and were spiced by excellent performances.
We are celebrating our World Aquatics Day today, the 18th of September 2021. It's a day that FINA has chosen the world over for us to celebrate our sport, aquatics, and to showcase what swimming is about, to encourage physical activity, to encourage mass participation, but to celebrate life. So for us, this is a day coming on the backdrop of COVID, just gives us hope that not all is lost. We have been almost 2 years out of action because of COVID, but the fact that the curve has been flattened and that things are getting back to near normalcy, we are very glad, and we would like to gain traction so that we can hold more competitions. But as far as the standard is concerned, there's been some good performances, but generally I think the children need a bit of more time so that it can pick up. It's very clear that they've been out of action for a while, but this is also meant to help us to select a national team that will represent us in Accra for the Kana Senior and Junior Championships in October, and the 15th FINA World Swimming Championships short course in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, which is in December. So we will obviously get some very good results, but that's also in addition to our swimmers who are outside Uganda that will also give us their time so we can choose a team that can represent us well.
Well, we've come to the end of our bulletin. However, let's take a look at the headlines before we sign out. our stories tonight, Archbishop John Lwanga's body returned and burial will be Monday. Gender-based violence in Karamoja icks gender minister and legislators. Communities living close to shorelines displaced by rising water levels. And Otuke schools choking on teenage pregnancy. Thank you for being a lovely audience and keeping me company. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold, and I must say good night and have yourselves a lovely Saturday night.
This weekend on UBC.
Also, add it there. So you get to know, you mix.
Sweet corn. Right. So let me ask the other thing as well. We call this kasoli. In Uganda, we call it kasoli.